Hello everyone, this is Serious Trivia, and today we're starting a new series after someone asked about the story behind an item in the game Total War 3 Kingdoms. Now, while most of the lore series on the channel has been about characters and major story arcs during the Three Kingdoms period, I felt it'd be fun to start this new series to cover all the historical ancillary items, followers, weapons, horses, and armors from the game, both from a gameplay perspective and a historical perspective. So let's get started with episode 1 of What's That Item? It's Hua Tuo's menu. So at first glance, this is a gold tier or unique item in the game that provides 10 points of expertise, 10 points of resolve, and 10 points of cunning, as well as 10 points of satisfaction to the character equipped with this item. It is also part of a set called Vital Spirit, which grants the army that this general is in an extra 5% boost to replenishment rate if you also happen to have Hua Tuo equipped as a follower on the same general. Now, Hua Tuo, who is a renowned doctor during the Three Kingdoms period, is also a gold tier or unique follower that will provide 8 points of resolve to the character equipped with the follower, as well as 10 points of satisfaction faction-wide if the character also happens to be your prime minister, heir, or faction leader. In terms of their bonuses, both of these items are pretty amazing, and it's not surprising considering that they are both gold tier or unique item, which means you are unlikely to ever see either one of these in your games. The only way you can acquire these items are to pray for lucky RNG at the beginning of your turn, or lucky RNG when farming rebels. The Vital Spirit set bonus is also not so amazing considering how rare both of these items are, since you can easily acquire 5% replenishment rate through other means. It would have been better if the set bonus was longer life on the character that this set is equipped on, in the form of a guarantee to reach age 90, for example, since one of Hua Tuo's students famously followed his teachings and lived to 90 while remaining very healthy. So now that we covered the gameplay aspect of this item set, let's also talk about the history behind them. Hua Tuo was a renowned traveling doctor during the Three Kingdoms era, as he was born in year 145 and died in 108. And he was mentioned many times in the Romance of the Three Kingdom novel, most famously for scraping the poison off the bone on Guan Yu's arm after Guan Yu was injured by a poisoned arrow. And this act, which is called 刮骨疗伤, is almost mystified today, as Guan Yu insisted on doing the whole operation without any form of anesthetic, as he played Go and drank wine while Hua Tuo scraped the poison off the bone on his arm. But unfortunately, as with most stories in the Romance of the Three Kingdoms, this was not entirely factual, as Hua Tuo was not the one to actually perform this operation. This operation and Guan Yu's toughness are actually all true, surprisingly, but Hua Tuo was not available then to help Guan Yu out. And if he had been there, he would have definitely given Guan Yu the herbal anesthetic called Ma Fei San, which he invented. Now, while the exact recipe of this anesthetic was lost to history due to Hua Tuo's untimely death, we do know that it contains heavy doses of Man Tuo Luo, or Jimison weed, or devil's snare, as the flower from this plant contains two chemicals in hyrosine and atropine, which are still used in anesthetics today. So Hua Tuo was definitely ahead of his time, as the first use of modern anesthetics didn't happen until 1840s. So while Guan Yu's story was not entirely true, another story in the Romance of the Three Kingdoms involving Zhou Tai and Hua Tuo was in fact factual. So this story happened around the time that Sun Ce was hunting down bandits in the south to establish the territories of Wu, which will also likely be the theme of the next 194 DLC for the game. But during this time of expansion for the Sun clan, many of the bandits in the south were looking for revenge on this little conqueror, and they got their chance when they ambushed a small group of Wu soldiers as they were escorting Sun Ce's younger brother Sun Quan from one city to the next. Now, Sun Quan was just 10 years old at this time, and this escort was overwhelmed from the get-go by the ambush party. And when it seemed like all was lost, Zhou Tai bravely fought his way to the young lord and threw his armor on Sun Quan and rode out with him while using his bare back as a human shield. After they escaped successfully, Zhou Tai was mortally wounded with over 12 arrow and spear wounds all over his body, and sparing no expense, Sun Ce hired Hua Tuo to try to save Zhou Tai's life. Hua Tuo then performed surgeries on Zhou Tai's wounds and healed him within just a month. So this is also why Zhou Tai has the unique background of the man of many scars in the game, as he got those scars during this ambush. And after Hua Tuo's miraculous ability to heal Zhou Tai, who many have thought was good as dead, it made him extremely famous throughout the land, as many officials sought him out for treatment. And one of those officials was Cheng Deng, who is also a semi-unique character in the game with a title called Man of All Seasons. I will cover his lore in a different episode soon, but his ailment at the time was basically he got parasites from eating fish, and Hua Tuo provided him treatment while traveling through Chen Deng's territory in Guangling. And when Hua Tuo was leaving, Hua Tuo told him that to get rid of the parasites completely, he would need another treatment in 3 years' time. But unfortunately, in 3 years' time, Hua Tuo was not available as he was a traveling doctor, and like he predicted, Chen Deng would succumb to the parasites and die at the age of 39. Now, the most famous story involving Hua Tuo would have to be the one that got him killed, as Cao Cao was also seeking treatment from Hua Tuo since he suffered from constant headache throughout his life. In the Romance of the Three Kingdoms version of this story, it is said that Hua Tuo diagnosed Cao Cao to have a brain tumor and needed open head surgery to remove it. And upon hearing that Hua Tuo wants to cut his head open, Cao Cao promptly threw him in jail and tortured Hua Tuo to death, believing that someone had actually sent him as a spy to assassinate him with this odd treatment choice. And the historical account of this event is once again a little bit different from the Romance of the Three Kingdoms version. Now, Cao Cao did invite Hua Tuo to treat him, but the historical account suggests that Hua Tuo was actually playing coy and refused to treat Cao Cao unless Cao Cao gave him a court position. And although this historical account could be a little iffy, since it is written by Cao Cao's historian, since Cao Cao was the ultimate victor here, it is still very believable, because doctors at the time were not held in high regard in society, as doctors were always associated with witchcraft. And this association didn't change in Chinese society until up to the Song dynasty, when Confucian scholars finally embraced the study of medicine as a proper occupation. And it was not until the Yuan dynasty after the Song dynasty, when the Mongols ruled China, that they finally pushed Confucian scholars' position in society to the bottom tier, that doctors were finally seen as a better alternative for the educated, as prior to this point, if you had the education to learn to read and write, then becoming a scholar and eventually a government official is seen as a greater path, since you are essentially curing the country. While becoming a doctor, you can only cure a few people. So it would make sense for Hua Tuo, who was a well-educated man, to desire a high court position, and Cao Cao definitely had the means to provide that at the time. But unfortunately, Cao Cao was not a man who enjoyed being blackmailed, so he instead threw Hua Tuo into prison and tortured him to death. And it was because of this sudden and untimely death that many of Hua Tuo's life work were lost to time. For example, his recipe for the anesthetic, which would have been recorded in his manual, or Qingnang Jing, which is how later historians will refer to his lost manual, since Qingnang referred to the bags doctors used to hold supplies. Now, while the picture of this item in the game suggests that it contained herbs and possibly recipes, the flavor text at the bottom actually suggests it could be something else, as it says, "Your gongfu is weak, old man," which has nothing to do with herbal medicine, and everything to do with something else that Hua Tuo actually did pass along, called Wu Qin Xi, or the 5-animal play. Wu Qin Xi is a type of qi gong, or stretching exercise to hone your qi and strengthen your body. Its translation is called the 5 animals play because it takes on the forms of 5 different animals, namely the ape, bear, deer, tiger, and crane, where each of these animals provided one form of stretching exercise that mimic the actions of the animal to help stretch your body in different areas. For example, the tiger style help you stretch your back as you mimic the actions of a leaping tiger. And this form of wushu exercise happened to be the only thing that Hua Tuo left us, and it is still practiced today. And for those of you who are curious, I will provide a link in the description below of a video for this exercise in case you want to check it out. And that's a wrap for our first episode of What's That Item, featuring Hua Tuo's manual and Hua Tuo. So hope you guys enjoyed this, and see you guys next time. Bye!